Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Over 80 people killed after plane crashed during landing at Mann International Airport in South Korea. Georgia to inaugurate disputed President Mikhail Kavilashvili. Protesters demand for fresh polls. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to share his thoughts with countrymen in monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat. And in sports, Cummins and Labuschagne rebuild for Australia after Indian bowlers wreak havoc at the MCG. Updates on South Korea plane crash first. At least 85 people were killed when an airliner veered off the runway and erupted into a fireball as it slammed into a wall at South Korea's Mann International Airport on Sunday morning. The crash occurred as Jeju Air Flight 7C2216 carrying 175 passengers and 6 crew on a flight from the Thai capital Bangkok was landing shortly after 9 a.m. local time at the airport in the south of the Asian nation. With the impact of the crash, the aircraft broke in half and caught fire. The regional fire authorities said that the plane's landing gear appears to have failed to deploy, causing the crash. The cause of the accident is presumed to be a bird strike combined with adverse weather conditions. However, the exact cause will be announced following a joint investigation. Meanwhile, all domestic and international flights at the Mann airport had been cancelled. So at least 85 people were killed in an plane crash in South Korea. To talk more on this, to give us the latest, Anil Thomas, my colleague, is joining us on the phone line. Anil, at least 85 have been killed in the plane crash and the death toll has been increasing. Latest you can tell us, 2 people were found alive also.
Well, good morning, Abhishek. Well, a sad day to begin, sad news to begin the day with, especially coming in from South Korea, where, almost 181 people on board. We are still getting confirmed news about 88 people dead, but in all likelihood, the death toll is very likely to rise. According to the local officials there, in all likelihood, they have managed to get 2 people out of 2 survivors, 1 passenger, 1 crew member that's been pulled out from the tail section of the plane and are receiving treatment in the nearby hospital. But all in all, the news coming in or trickling in there doesn't look good. Not much survivors expected, looking at how the plane has split into 2. You would not expect much survivors to come out of it, because whatever could be done has to be done at the tail end of the plane, because the plane is split into 2, not much can be done. And I think we could see the death casualty almost cross 100. This would be one of the worst casualties or airline casualties that South Korea could see. Some of the previous accidents that South Korea have never seen these kind of deaths. Reminded of the 2002 Air China plane crash that took place, which killed almost 129 passengers out of the 166, and the other major airline crash that Korea has seen on Korean soil that we have seen is the Asiana airline crash that took place in 1993, which killed 68 people. But the numbers here could almost, go past the 129 we saw in 2002, and this is one of the worst airline crashes that South Korea has ever seen.
But Anil, the exact cause is not known, but the crash is thought to have been caused by contact with bird, leading to malfunctioning landing gear. Are they still examining the exact cause?
Well, there are 2 conflicting reports that are coming in. First, what the South Korean news agency is reporting, they are citing authorities claiming that there is a malfunction on the landing gear, which is likely to be the cause for the crash. 1. Airport authorities, on the other hand, are saying that the plane it had a crash landing for the reason that there was a malfunctioning on the landing gear, and its first landing attempt had already failed. So, the pilot is left with not much of an option when your first landing has failed. You're almost looking at landing on the belly of the plane, which is like the plane will be up in flames, the engine will be hitting the ground, and there is not much that the pilot can do other than steer it or bring it to an end. I think with the speed that the plane had, it was impossible to reduce the speed for the pilot, and that's the reason it hit the end of the runway and then crashed into the wall, that's the outer edge of the airport, and where it erupted into a fireball. I think once a plane is up in a fireball, however hard you try, local fire authorities can try their best, but it's next to impossible to, get near the plane when the plane is in a fireball. However, local authorities are claiming that, there is a bird strike along with adverse weather conditions which are likely to be the cause of this particular, plane crash. But we'll have to wait for the joint investigation report that's going to come out soon. The exact cause will be announced, maybe in a few days later when the joint investigations, will take place, and we'll get to see what exactly happened and, what could be the real cause for this particular plane accident.
The pictures, the visuals of the plane look bad, and all domestic and international flights at the airport, one airport, have been cancelled, and rescue operation is underway.
Well, exactly. They are trying their best to what can be done, because this is South Korea's worst domestic civil aviation disaster. It also, this is also the first time there's low-cost airlines that have started in South Korea. Not much of time has passed since low-cost airline has, have been very successful in South Korea. So this is the first major casualty incident which is involving a low-cost, carrier in the country's history. And that's something that could be a cause of concern, because this, we are into the New Year season where there's a lot of flying taking place. And suddenly there could be a lot of fear that could set in with regards to low-cost airlines. And this could have a cascading effect on how, South Korean low-cost airlines, they could feel the heat pretty quickly on how things could happen. If the situation is not brought under control pretty quickly, because the death toll with every passing minute is rising. And I think, how does South Korea manage to get, this particular story under control? Because there has to be some check that has to be brought. The joint investigation has to be quick, because as of now, the low-cost airline Jeju Air has just, puts a simple message on its website which claims that they deeply bow in apology to all those affected by the airport accident. Our first priority is to do everything possible to manage the incident, and we sincerely apologize for causing concern. I think they have done what they could do best, but the way the things have spiraled out, if this is the worst civil aviation accident that we are seeing in South Korea, this could have a huge cascading effect, especially on low-cost airlines.
All right, Anil, we'll leave it at that. Anil Thomas on the phone line reporting on plane crash in South Korea. Updates on Israel-Hamas conflict now. Israeli forces have detained over 240 people, including several medical staff and the director of the hospital in northern Gaza during a raid on December 27. The Israeli military claimed that Gaza's Kamal Adwan hospital was being used as a Hamas command center, with all detainees suspected of militant ties. Ahead of the operation, the Israeli military said it coordinated the evacuation of 350 patients and staff to nearby facilities. In a separate incident, Israeli forces intercepted 2 projectiles launched from northern Gaza towards Israel on Saturday. Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, hundreds of flag-waving protesters gathered downtown, calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and a deal to secure the release of hostages. Meanwhile, pro-Hamas Yemen's Houthi group claimed that it had shot down a US MQ9 drone in the airspace of the central province of Al-Baida on Saturday. The group's military spokesperson Yahya Saria, the drone was intercepted while carrying out hostile missions and was brought down using a domestically manufactured surface-to-air missile. Houthis also said that it had launched a hypersonic ballistic missile targeting the Nevatim airbase in the Negev desert of the southern Israel. And Russian President Vladimir Putin apologized for the fact that the incident happened in Russian airspace. The Russian president also offered deep and sincere condolences to the victims' families and wished a speedy recovery to the injured. RT correspondent Yasin Ekin has filed this report from Baku in Azerbaijan.
comes at a time that Azerbaijan was, of course, carrying out investigations into the incident. And we understand that two heads of state discussed these scenarios which transpired. And we understand just at this current stage, the Russian President Vladimir Putin expressed his condolences to those people that were tragically killed as a result of that incident, as well as expressing his apologies for the circumstances in which they transpired. We understand that that it happened within Russian airspace, and the Russian president was quite vocal in ensuring that it was, in fact, an accident. Of course, this is going to be concluded as a result of an investigation that not just Azerbaijan, but the state of Russia itself is going to be conducting. But what we understand at this given time, according to the telephone conversation held between the two heads of state, that the aircraft that was trying to head and land at Grozny airport was, of course, subjected to an area which was being targeted by Ukrainian drone attacks, which triggered Russian air defense systems. And as a result of those attacks, the plane was diverted to Kazakhstan. And we understand that the events that transpired from there on was of course tragic. We understand that the aircraft was essentially carrying 67 people. This includes crew members on board, nationals from Russia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan, which also resulted in the death of about 38 people. We understand, of course, at this given moment, on Friday, the head of Russia's Air Transport Agency issued a statement suggesting that the plane's pilot tried to land the plane many times. This is corresponded with eyewitness testimonies from surviving passengers on board the Azerbaijani aircraft. And we understand that at this given point, it was diverted to Kazakhstan because the airspace within the immediate region was closed. Let's listen to him.
Georgia is gearing up for inauguration of Georgian Dream loyalist Mikhail Kavelashvili as the country's new president after his election was declared illegitimate by the current leader Salom Zurabishvili and the pro-Western opposition. The inauguration of Kavelashvili is expected to further escalate the political crisis after the contested October 26 parliamentary election in which the pro-Russian Georgian Dream claimed a landslide victory. The opposition parties and Zurabishvili do not acknowledge the election results and claim they were rigged. But Zurabishvili, whose mandate ends with the new leader's inauguration, has refused to step down until the government announces fresh parliamentary elections. Thousands of Georgians form human chains in Tbilisi and across the country in support of European Union membership and demanding new elections, marking the second month of their daily pro-Europe rallies. The protest began on 28 November after Prime Minister Kobakidze announced that Georgia would postpone its EU bid until 2028. On Friday, the United States imposed sanctions on Georgia's former Prime Minister and the chairman of Georgian Dream, Bidzina Ivanishvili, saying they undermine the country's democratic future for Russia's benefit. Thousands have fled Mozambique in the past week to neighboring Malawi, seeking refuge from the southern African nation's deadly post-election protest. Some 13,000 people have crossed over to Malawi since Monday, according to government sources, the day Mozambique's top court confirmed the ruling party's win in October's vote. Several government ministries were put on alert and the asylum seekers were being housed across a number of temporary sites. Around 134 of those killed since the top court on Monday confirmed victory for the Frelimo party, which has been in power since independence from Portugal 5 decades ago. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Donald Trump backs Elon Musk in H-1B visa debate. Russia says it will stop gas exports to Moldova from January 1st. And we'll get you the updates on the global weather.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. when supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Russian energy giant Gazprom would suspend gas exports to Moldova from January 1st due to unpaid debt by Moldova, which is bracing for severe power cuts. Russia supplies Moldova with about 2 billion cubic meters of gas per year, which is piped via Ukraine to the breakaway region of Transnistria, where it is used to generate cheap power that is sold to government-controlled parts of Moldova. Moldovan Prime Minister Naran Singh condemned the Russian decision, which is a precursor to a total shutdown of Russian gas exports via Ukraine and to Europe, where it flows further to Slovakia, Austria, Hungary and Italy. Once the current transit deal with Ukraine expires on December 31st, Moldova will be hit the hardest by the shutdown. Now, US President-elect Donald Trump on Saturday defended the visa program that allows highly skilled foreign workers to immigrate to the US. Trump, in an interview, sided with key supporter and billionaire tech CEO Elon Musk in a public dispute over the use of H-1B visa, saying he fully backs the program for foreign tech workers opposed by some of his supporters. Trump's remarks followed a series of social media posts from Musk. The CEO of Tesla opens new tab and SpaceX, who vowed late Friday to go to war to defend the visa program for foreign tech workers. In his first term, Trump restricted access to foreign worker visas, and he has previously criticized the program. But during the 2024 campaign, Trump signaled openness to giving some foreign-born workers legal status if they graduated from a US university. Now, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un held a key policy-setting meeting of the country's ruling party last week ahead of the new year. According to state media KCNA, the meeting of party and government officials decided that North Korea would launch the toughest strategy to counteract the United States for its security and national interest. The December 23rd to 27 meeting also reviewed the handling of floods earlier this year, including the plan that brought those affected to Pyongyang, the capital. The country also vowed to promote relations with friendly countries during the meeting. Kim also called for progress in defense science and technology to bolster the country's war deterrence. Now, Afghanistan has strongly condemned Pakistan for violating its sovereignty following a series of airstrikes on its eastern Paktika province on Tuesday night, saying at least 51 people have been killed in the attacks, mostly women and children. Pakistani officials, however, claimed that the strikes targeted militant hideouts in border areas with Afghanistan. The strikes hit 4 locations in several villages of Barmal district of Paktika province. Al-Haji Mullah Nurullah Nuri, Afghanistan's acting minister of Borders and Tribal Affairs, visited Barmal district on Friday to investigate the aftermath of airstrikes. He stated that all victims were refugees or civilians. Pakistan's special envoy for Afghanistan, Sadiq Khan, was in Kabul on the same day as the airstrikes. Despite ongoing diplomatic efforts, the strikes in Barmal district have heightened tensions, with the Afghan caretaker government warning of potential consequences for Pakistan. Now, the Afghan Taliban forces retaliated on Saturday, striking across the border into Pakistan in response to a deadly Pakistani attack on Afghanistan earlier in the week. Media reports confirm at least 1 Pakistani paramilitary soldier was killed and several others injured in the cross-border clash. Meanwhile, the UN has called for an investigation into the civilian casualties, urging accountability for the deadly Pakistani airstrikes on Afghan soil.
The Afghan Taliban forces retaliated back and hit places across the border into Pakistan on Saturday. Media reports state at least 1 Pakistani paramilitary soldier was killed and 7 others injured in the ensuing exchange of fire. Afghanistan said this was in response to the Pakistani attack that took place on Tuesday, in which 51 from Afghanistan were reportedly killed. The statement from the Afghanistan's defense ministry said several points beyond the hypothetical line were targeted in retaliation from the southeastern direction of the country. Afghanistan had strongly condemned Pakistan for violating its sovereignty following a series of airstrikes on its eastern Paktika province on Tuesday night, resulted in the deaths of civilians, including women and children, and issued a warning of retaliation. A Taliban minister stated that such airstrikes on the Afghanistan border will not go unchallenged.
Especially in Afghanistan, the Afghan nation and people expect good relations, reciprocity, and good policy from neighboring countries. But in the meantime, when such a brutal and aggressive invasion occurs, it is unacceptable and will not go unchallenged.
While the UN assistance mission in Afghanistan said in a social media post that it had received credible reports that dozens of civilians, including women and children, were killed in airstrikes by Pakistan's military forces in Paktika province on 24th of December. Mission has called for an investigation to ensure accountability and prevent recurrence and uphold victims' rights. Afghans have suffered more than 40 years of conflict, natural disasters, chronic poverty, food insecurity, COVID-19 pandemic, and most recently, a changeover in government authorities. The events leading up to the Taliban's takeover of Kabul in August 2021 intensified instability and violence in Afghanistan, causing even more human suffering and displacement. With inputs from Ravindra Chauhan, DD India.
Afghanistan is making headway in one of its biggest infrastructure projects. Officials say the second phase of the Kosh-Tepa Canal in northern Afghanistan is nearing completion. According to the National Development Corporation, 81% of the canal's second phase is complete, while construction of the associated dam has reached 67%. The ongoing work on this canal project is taking place in the Ankhoi district of Faryab province. This ambitious project aims to revolutionize irrigation in the region and significantly boost agricultural productivity. This will help achieve self-sufficiency in grain production that Afghanistan has to import from many other countries. The project will also generate numerous job opportunities in various sectors in the war-torn nation. And the newly appointed head of intelligence services in Syria said the country's security institution will be restructured after all current security entities are dissolved. Anas Khattab announced a plan to dissolve the institutions that were so feared under the rule of ousted dictator Bashar al-Assad 2 days after being appointed to his post by the country's new leadership. In a statement, he stressed the suffering of Syrians under the oppression of the old regime. Prisons were emptied after Assad's fall as officials and agents of the deposed regime fled. Meanwhile, people protested outside Downing Street in central London to call on the UK government to uphold its humanitarian obligations and end the suspension of asylum applications for Syrians. Iran lifts ban on Meta's instant messaging platform WhatsApp and Google Play as a first step to scale back internet restrictions. Iran is known for having some of the strictest internet rules across the world. Social media platforms were widely used in anti-government protests in Iran. The ban on WhatsApp and Google Play was put in place in 2022 during mass protests against the government over the death of a woman held by country's morality police for allegedly violating the strictly enforced dress code. Further, the Iranian authorities have blocked access to US-based social media applications such as Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. Now, Saudi Arabia is undergoing a transformation under Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's Vision 2030, with women at the heart of these sweeping reforms. From gaining the right to drive to breaking workplace barriers, the kingdom's women are stepping into new opportunities. Here's more.
For decades, women in Saudi Arabia lived under strict restrictions. They were required to wear abayas, prohibited from interacting with men outside their families, and they couldn't drive. But in 2018, everything changed. The historic lifting of the 86-year-old ban on women driving marked a new chapter in the kingdom. It was part of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's Vision 2030, a reform plan to diversify the economy and modernize society. Najad, one of the first Saudi women to get her driving license, recalls the liberating experience.
I was a bit scared. I used to go out by driver, but now I rely more on myself and I drive myself. It's a wonderful feeling.
Saudi women are feeling changes in other areas as well. They can now travel without a male guardian, attend sports events, vote, and even work in public facing jobs. Gender segregation in restaurants has also ended. Work profile of women is also seeing a drastic change in their favor. An increasing number of Saudi women are now joining the workforce. This is bringing about new business opportunities in the land.
In the past, Saudi women used to work in their homes, but today women are going out to work. Saudi women have all the capabilities to develop this country.
But challenges remain. Legal restrictions require Saudi women to obtain the consent of a male guardian to get married or divorced. However, their growing presence in public life is reshaping the kingdom one step at a time, and many believe that there will be more progress. Bureau Report, DD India.
Chad goes to the polls Sunday for legislative, provincial and local elections that are presented by the government as the last stage of a political transition after 3 years of military rule. However, the polls are being boycotted by the opposition party. The boycott leaves the field open to candidates aligned with Marshal Muhammad Idris Itno, who was brought to power by the military in 2021 and then legitimized in a presidential election last May that opposition candidates denounced as fraudulent. Earlier on Saturday evening, the opposition Democratic Party of the Shadian people claimed that more than 1,000 ballots intended for the sub-prefecture of Bongor had disappeared and called for vigilance to thwart the fraud network set up by the ruling MPS party. As in previous elections, soldiers, members of the police forces and nomadic people have cast their vote on Saturday. Now, the French armed forces recently displayed the handover of the Fire military base in Chad to the Chadian army, just under a month after the unexpected announcement of the suspension of the military agreement between France and N'Djamena. This marks a significant shift in the relationship between the two nations following the decision to end France's military presence in the region. As Chad moves away from France, it opens up opportunities for new partnerships which include collaborations with African nations or global powers. Some weather updates now. Multiple tornadoes have ripped through the Houston area in the United States, with southeast Texas remaining under a tornado watch. The severe weather threat stretches across eastern Texas into Louisiana, Mississippi and Alabama, keeping the region on high alert. In South America, massive waves up to 13 feet high have battered Ecuador and Peru, leaving one person dead and forcing ports in Peru to close. Beaches along the central and northern Peruvian coastline have also been shut down to protect lives. Meanwhile, festive travel in the UK is taking a hit as thick fog blankets central London and much of the country. The heavy mist has disrupted flights, grounding planes and delaying landings, making travel plans a challenge on this busy weekend. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Indian Army contingent comprising over 300 personnel will participate in joint military exercise Surya Kiran between India and Nepal. Indian Space Research Organisation set to launch a space docking experiment SPEX on December 30th. And parts of North India set to enter the new year with cold wave conditions.
This year, the Wall of Sports gave unforgettable moments that will forever echo in the halls of glory. From Paris Olympics 2024 to India's trailblazing success at the Paralympics, chess prodigy Gukesh conquering the world. India ended a long way to bring home the T20 World Cup glory. And on the European stage, Spain proved their dominance yet again. Relive the drama, the triumphs and the passion that defined Sports Saga 2024.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of what we have done so far. Over 80 people killed after a plane crash during landing at Mann International Airport in South Korea. Georgia to inaugurate disputed President Mikhail Kavelishvili, protesters demand for fresh polls. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to share his thoughts with countrymen in monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat. And in sports, Cummins and Labuschagne rebuild as Australia's lead goes past 250 versus India at the MCG. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will share his thoughts with the people of the country and abroad in Mann Ki Baat program. It will be the 117th episode of the monthly radio program. The program will be broadcast on the entire network of All India Radio and Doordarshan. It will also be live streamed on the YouTube channels of All DD Network. All India Radio will broadcast the program in regional languages immediately after the Hindi broadcast. Now, the Indian Space Research Organisation is set to launch its space docking experiment SPEX on December 30th. The mission will use PSLV C-60 lifting off at 21:58 IST from Sriharikota. SPEX marks a milestone showcasing India's expertise in spacecraft docking technology. SPEX will deploy 2 identical satellites. Key objectives include performing precision rendezvous and docking maneuvers, validating power transfer between docked spacecraft and operating payloads post-undocking with a 2-year lifespan. This capability is vital for India's lunar and interplanetary missions. Docking technology enables multi-launch missions and supports future human spaceflight. Only the US, Russia and China have mastered such advancements so far. Moving further, in a significant breakthrough for Jammu and Kashmir's Udhampur-Baramulla rail link project, Indian Railways conducted trail runs at the Katra-Reasi section of the highly anticipated project. The Katra-Reasi stretch, covering a challenging over 100 kilometers, faced multiple interruptions during construction, necessitating the involvement of global experts. The Jammu-Baramulla railway line is a groundbreaking infrastructure project aimed at linking the Kashmir Valley in Jammu and Kashmir with the rest of India. Covering a distance of 338 kilometers, the railway line starts at Jammu and ends at Baramulla, passing through a range of difficult and varied landscapes. Weather updates from across the nation now. With rain and snow, parts of North India are set to enter the new year with cold wave conditions as per the India Met Department's forecast. The weather agency has predicted cold wave to severe cold wave conditions in some areas of Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan from December 30th to January 2nd. The weather in Delhi will clear up from Sunday with a significant drop in minimum temperatures by 3 to 6 degrees Celsius over the next 2-3 days. As per the Met Department, parts of Himachal Pradesh are likely to continue to receive a few spells of light rainfall and snowfall, with heavy rainfall or snowfall is also likely at isolated places over Chamba, Kangra, Kullu, northern parts of Mandi, Lahaul Spiti, Kinnaur and northern parts of Sirmaur districts. And daily life was thrown out of gear in Kashmir as the season's heaviest snowfall hit air, rail and road traffic and disrupted power and water supply on December 28. In South Kashmir, heavy to very heavy snowfall was recorded in the plains, while central Kashmir's plains received moderate snowfall. The plains of North Kashmir received light to moderate snowfall, the officials said. All right, DD India's Shabir Dar is joining us to talk more on this from Srinagar. Shabir, heavy snow in Kashmir and it must have disrupted normal life. How's the situation there and what is the forecast?
Yeah, you're aware that the normal life has been disrupted. All the road communication and air traffic is disrupted as of now, as we speak. And, effort is being to see that the, air connectivity that is resumed by the end of the day. So the normal life has been completely disrupted because it was a heavy snowfall after a long dry spell and, intense cold wave. In one way, the people are rejoicing that they have got, abundant snow this season. And but at the other side, there are some difficulties because electricity and water supply, supplies have been disrupted. But authorities are on the job. They are ensuring that, people are being supplied the water and electricity at the earliest. Yes, yes.
No, Shabir, I was saying Met Office says they didn't expect heavy snowfall. But are people there welcoming it? Like you are also saying that some people are, because first timely snowfall in 3 years, if I'm not wrong, because it will have good impact on horticulture, agriculture and tourism industry too.
Yeah, you are right. For our agriculture and horticulture, this the timely snowfall is a boon. For our bumper crop in the season to come. So people are very happy in that aspect, because they are seeing that this year the year ahead will have a bumper agriculture and horticulture season because of this snow. And it is a timely snowfall and a heavy snowfall this time, because what we have seen in the past, that people will have to wait for a long time for the snow and it was not abundant. This time the heavy snowfall and abundant snowfall particularly in the South and North Kashmir, because in South Kashmir, where from the rivers get their water. So South Kashmir has a heavy snowfall. People are absolutely happy. Even tourists in Pahalgam and Gulmarg are equally thrilled to see snowfall in this time of the season. And when the New Year is on the eve, tourists have flocked in Kashmir, in all the tourist spots are in a frenzy mode.
All right, Shabir, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest from Srinagar. The Election Commission of India unveiled what it calls the world's largest electoral data set, releasing 42 detailed statistical reports on 2024 Lok Sabha elections and 14 reports each on 4 state assembly elections. This groundbreaking initiative is designed to promote transparency, foster research and build public trust in India's electoral system.
Half of the world's population live in countries that held elections in 2024. More than 60 countries and territories held national elections in 2024. And India was one of those countries where parliamentary elections were held in 2024. In a landmark move aimed at promoting transparency and research, the Election Commission of India released the world's largest electoral data set, unveiling 42 statistical reports on 2024 Lok Sabha elections and 14 reports each on 4 state assembly elections. The data sets revealed that the 2024 parliamentary elections created a world record, with 64.64 crore voters exercising their franchise. The number of nominations filed stood at 12,459 in 2024 compared to 11,692 in 2019, while 8,360 candidates contested elections as against 8,054 in 2019. The report further highlighted that women voters outshined male participation, signaling a new trend of increased female participation in elections. Females outnumbered men in 2024 again, like in 2019. This is only the second time in the history of GEs to Lok Sabha. Female voter turnout stood at 65.78% compared to 65.55% for male electors. Female contesting candidates numbered 800, up from 726 in 2019. In 2024, number of female electors per 1,000 male electors made a new high, that is 946 as compared to 926 in 2019. The scale of India's election is often compared to those in other countries to underscore its magnitude. Interestingly, the number of registered electors rose to 97.97 crore in 2024. Number of registered electors rose to 97.97 crore in 2024, a 7.43% increase from 91.19 crore in 2019. Dhubri in Assam recorded the highest turnout at 92.3%. Transgender votes stood at 27.09%. The 2024 Lok Sabha elections featured 10,52,664 polling stations, an increase from 10,37,848 in 2019. Uttar Pradesh recorded the highest number of polling stations at 1,62,069. Bihar saw the largest increase in polling stations with 4,739 additional stations compared to 2019, followed by West Bengal with 1,731. The size of India's electorate is more than the population of all the countries of Europe combined. India's electorate size exceeds the population of Europe, which stands at approximately 745 million and nearly matches the population of Africa, which is about 1.3 billion. Bureau Report, DD India.
Let's now take a look at other stories making news today. The Navi Mumbai International Airport on Sunday will conduct its first commercial landing on the southern runway. The Airports Authority of India successfully completed its precision approach path indicator test at the airport 2 weeks ago. The landing will be conducted to ensure that the airport is ready to open for commercial operations by set deadline of March 31st, 2025. Indian Army contingent comprising over 300 personnel will participate in joint military exercise Surya Kiran between India and Nepal. The exercise will be held in Nepal's Saljhandi. The exercise will provide a platform for soldiers from both the nations to share best practices, enhance interoperability and foster a stronger bond in conduct of joint operations. Preparations for Mahakumbh 2025, world's largest spiritual gathering, are ongoing with grand infrastructure, security and digital innovations. The Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister is personally overseeing preparations through frequent site visits and meetings, ensuring no detail is overlooked. For the first time, an MOU with Google will integrate the fair into its navigation system, reflecting the UP government's commitment to enhancing the experience for devotees. Parade rehearsal of defence personnel for the 78th Republic Day is underway at Kartavya Path in the national capital. India will celebrate its 78th Republic Day on 26th January. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. UK to tax private schools and £1.5 billion boost to public education. India's Koneru Hampi wins FIDE World Rapid Championship 2024. And Nigerians come together for a vibrant Calabar Carnival. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Business updates. UK will end the tax exemption for private schools starting from 1st January 2025. The centre-left Labour government has announced in a move set to raise over $1.9 billion for public education. After years of worsening educational inequalities, from January 1st, private schools will have to pay 20% value-added tax on tuition fees, which will be used to fund thousands of new teachers and improve standards in state schools. The policy was promised by Labour in its election campaign and officially laid out in its inaugural budget in October. Sports updates now. We'll start with cricket. Mann succumbed to Mohammad Siraj in his attempt to rebuild the Australian innings with Pat Cummins during the third session of Day 4 in the Melbourne Test. Bumrah and Siraj rattled Australia's batting lineup after lunch. Siraj broke the partnership of Marnus Labuschagne and Steve Smith by dismissing Smith for 13. Meanwhile, Bumrah removed the dangerous Travis Head, Mitchell Marsh and Alex Carey in quick succession to put the host under pressure. However, Australia bounced back to take a lead of more than 250 thanks to Marnus Labuschagne, who scored 70 before getting dismissed. All right, to talk more on this, DD India's Naran Singh is joining live from the newsroom. Naran, India made a great comeback at the MCG, first in batting with Nitish Kumar Reddy and Washington Sundar, and then great spells by Bumrah and Siraj, but Labuschagne and Cummins 57-run partnership, you think, can end up being the match-turning partnership?
In that sense, we can say the way things started with the Bumrah in the second spell and the way he just dismantled the Australian batting lineup, there was a hope that India is still in the match, because they were at the, we can say that towards the, it's what looking like that soon they will be folded out. But the way Labuschagne, as you mentioned, just put a resistance on the Indian bowling lineup and scored a partnership. So that was the case, but still India has a chance if they, as soon as they can just wrap up the Australian tail and again bat, and they can still under 300 is a possible chaseable target for the Indian team, the kind of batting they have, and they execute the things in the right way. We can say that still India has a chance in this match, but they have to remove the Australian tail as soon as possible. And the cricket, as you mentioned, fantastic yesterday. It was Nitish Kumar Reddy, one of the best knock in the test cricket, and today the second session, the kind of bowling Bumrah displayed, and he created multiple milestones during the course of his spell. He became the bowler with the best average, having 200 wickets in the test cricket. His average is around 19.41, and after that Malcolm Marshall and the greats like Joel Garner comes. So he has showed his class to the world where the Bumrah belongs to. And in the first inning we saw that the way Sam Constas just thrashed Bumrah and with his scoop, reverse scoop, and became the first batsman to hit Bumrah 6 after January 2021. But in the second inning, Bumrah showed him who is the boss, the way he dismantled him. So all in all, a fantastic day for the, especially for the Bumrah, that will be remain in the memories of the cricket folklore for the long time, because he also became the fastest Indian pace bowler to take 200 test wickets and the second joint fastest to be in the club. And also he became the fastest bowler to have the number of wickets he took in the Border Gavaskar trophy. That is, the record is for the Indian context. So multiple records and a fantastic cricket display we saw at the MCG.
But Naran, all three outcomes still possible for India at the Melbourne. What are India's chances to still qualify for the WTC finals?
As you mentioned that all the three results are possible here. If India wins, definitely, if at the MCG they wins this match, they will just we can say that retain the Border Gavaskar trophy, because they were the defending champions. Last time they won the Border Gavaskar trophy. And talking about the WTC, right now South Africa is the top place, followed by Australia, and India is at the third place. In that sense, a result should be in favor of India if India want to be there, because the top two teams will be there in the finals of the World Test Championship. So if the match ends in a draw, then the last match that will be played in the Sydney, that will be a do or die match for the India also. If here the match ends in a draw and they wins in the Sydney, then also India can be there in the finals of the WTC. But here we need to, here as you mentioned that all the three possibilities are here for India to draw the match, to win the match, or to lose the match. Because if Australia sets a target of 300, definitely in the fourth inning it's look difficult. We know that the Australia too have a fantastic bowling lineup, but here India has to show their potential, because we know the Indian batting lineup. Yashasvi Jaiswal is there, Rohit Sharma, he is out of the form, but still he has the class to perform. And the way Nitish Kumar Reddy is performing, Rishabh Pant, Ravindra Jadeja, there are the great one we can say the greatest batting lineup, and if they execute, they play to the potential, because the wicket is good, it is good for the batting, but only thing is that they need to play to their potential, execute the things in the right way. Definitely still there is a possibility that India can win this match.
But Naran, if you assume that the target would be around 270, 280, is this I mean, what is the history of the MCG? How much is gettable in the fourth innings at the MCG? 270, 280 chaseable target?
Definitely, the condition as we saw that the Australian batters are batted, the way they scored the runs in the first inning, and if you talk about India's
batting in the second inning, the way Nitish Kumar Reddy performed, Washington Sundar performed. If Nitish Kumar Reddy can do, if Washington Sundar can do, definitely the other batsmen in the Indian batting lineup, we can say that they have the potential. The batting conditions are up to the mark here. Only thing is that they have to play their natural game. A full day is left. I think if they wrap up here, Australia, as soon as possible, they can even play here for 10 and 15 overs. And if today also, without losing a wicket, they score under around 100 runs, definitely there is a chance. But we know that fourth inning is always a tough thing to score. But in the past, India has done this thing, and here in the Melbourne also, I think it is feasible to get that target, to score that target, to chase that target if they set a target of under 300. So possibility is there.
All right, Naran, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. In chess, India's Koneru Hampe beat Indonesia's Irene Karisma Sukandar in round 11 to win FIDE World Rapid Championship 2024 in New York on Sunday. This is Hampe's second World Rapid title after claiming the top spot in 2019 in Moscow. Going into the final round of the event, 6 players apart from Hampe were leading the tournament with 7.5 points in 10 rounds. However, all top boards were ended in a draw before Hampe struck the final nail in the coffin against Irene. And Nigerians came together for the vibrant Calabar Carnival, often called Africa's biggest street party in the southern city of Calabar on Saturday. Marking its 20th year, the carnival brought dazzling performances from local communities across Nigeria and international participants. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.